Let's listen to The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Level A2. Oxford Reading University. Part 2.
They spent the next few days in peace. The whole town fell quiet too. These were the last days before the fiesta began. 8. One morning, Jake woke up to the noise of fireworks in the sky. The fiesta was open. The streets were filled with people. They moved slowly toward the bullring, and there was music and singing all around. Every year the fiesta lasted for 7 days, and for 7 days the singing, dancing, and drinking didn't stop for a second. Time seemed to stand still, and nobody seemed to care about anything. All people did was shout at the top of their voices, drink wine, and enjoy themselves. Jake and his friends did the same. They danced and drank wine until morning. Some days passed. Once again, Jake woke up to the noise of fireworks. He looked out of the hotel window. Nobody was on the street. Soon he heard the noise of a running crowd. It raced past the hotel toward the bullring. For some time, everybody was absolutely quiet. Then the bulls came out from around the corner. They ran fast after the people. Soon, loud shouts from the bullring crossed the whole street. Everyone went to watch the fighting. Bill and Jake stood right by the ring. Brett, Michael, and Cone took the seats a little higher up. Jake noticed Montoya in the crowd. "A bullfighter named Romero is fighting today," he said. "He is only 19, but he shows great promise as a torero." The whole show turned out to be about Romero. His every movement was soft and neat. He didn't make a single mistake. He moved his cape and waited until the bull was tired. Then he attacked and killed the animal. "Romero is just a boy," Brett said as they walked outside. "But he is already the best at what he does," Jake noticed. "And he is very attractive," Brett added. Michael laughed. "Are you in love with him, Brett?" he joked. Brett didn't say anything in reply. 9. The next day it rained in Pamplona. There were no fights. All the group was sitting in the cafe. Pedro Romero sat next to them. Jake started talking to him in Spanish about bullfighting. Then Brett came up to them. "Will you introduce us, Jake?" she asked, smiling at Romero. From that point on, they never took their eyes off each other. It was clear that they liked being together. But soon Brett and Jake said goodbye and went away. The last day of the fiesta, Brett and Jake were walking down the street and talking. Brett seemed lost. "I am an awful person," she almost cried. "I have no respect for myself anymore. I think I am in love with Romero. Jake, I have to do something that I really want to do." She kept her head down. "You don't have to do that," Jake said. "Please don't be difficult," she replied. Jake knew that she was unhappy. Cone followed her all the time. Mike was very angry because of Cone, and he argued with Brett a lot. "You have to help me find Romero, Jake," Brett told him, looking him straight in the eyes. "Please." And Jake agreed. They entered one of the cafes and saw the young bullfighter. He noticed them too, and walked up to their table. They started talking. Brett took his hand softly and gave it a close look. "I will read your future in your hand," she told him. "I see that you will live a long life." "Yes, I hope that my bulls will not kill me," Romero laughed. Jake had to leave them alone, so he stood up. Romero was about to leave too. Brett pulled him by the arm. "Stay. Teach me some Spanish," she asked. Jake left the cafe. After an hour he came back, but they were already gone. 10. Later that day, Jake, Michael, and Bill were sitting in a restaurant. Before they could order their drinks, Robert Cohn broke the door open. "Where is Brett?" he shouted. "Relax, Cohn," Jake said. "Sit down." "Where is she?" Cohn asked again. "I don't know," Jake answered. "You are lying. She was with you," Cohn shouted. Michael tried to stop him. "Calm down, Cohn. Brett has run off with a young bullfighter," he said. Cohn was extremely angry. "Is it true?" he asked in a loud voice. "I am not telling you anything," Jake replied quietly. But Cohn kept questioning them. He was out of control. Jake stood up and was about to hit him in the face, but Cohn avoided the attack. They started fighting. Jake took all the hits on the face without hitting Cohn even once. He lost his senses. When Jake came back to life, Cohn wasn't there. Jake went to his hotel with Bill. At the door of his room, Bill said, "You should go see Cohn. He doesn't seem like himself anymore." "I don't want to," Jake refused. "Jake, please," Bill said. He was very serious, and Jake gave up. "Okay," he replied. He found Cohn lying head down on the bed, crying loudly. "Jake, I'm so sorry," he said. His voice shook. "You were my best friend, and I loved Brett very much. I can't stand it anymore." Jake felt sorry for him. "Let us just forget about it," he suggested. "I will leave Pamplona tomorrow," Cohn promised. The following night, Bill and Michael knocked on the door of Jake's room. "Cohn went to Romero's place today," Michael told him. "He found Brett in Romero's room and wasn't able to control himself. He attacked Romero and beat him up. Brett was very angry. She swore at Cohn and threw him out. After that, Cohn left Pamplona." 11. The next morning, Brett met everyone at the cafe. "Has Cohn left?" she asked. "Yes," Jake replied. "And how is your little bullfighter doing?" Michael asked. "Your Jewish man turned out to be no good." "Michael," she said in a serious voice, "I won't listen to this." "The Jewish man is no good, but the young bullfighter is all right," Michael went on. "Jake, let us get out of here," she said. And they walked toward the door. Michael swore loudly and turned the table over. The plates and glasses fell on the floor and broke. After the walk, Brett went back to Romero's room. Jake went to see Michael. He found him in an awful state. Clothes and bottles lay all over the room. Michael lay on the bed crying. The fiesta was coming to an end. Romero was preparing for his last fight. Jake, Bill, and Brett went to watch it. Romero loved fighting, and he loved bulls as much as he loved Brett. One could see it in his movements. A bull appeared in the ring. Romero let it get so close to him that the crowd cried in fear. The bull turned its head to hit Romero, but he was faster. He managed to hit the bull and injure it. After that, they went in opposite directions. The bull prepared to attack again. "Now he is going to kill it," Jake said quietly. The bull ran fast to the bullfighter. Romero covered it with his red cape and hit it hard. A moment later, the bull fell dead. The crowd shouted happily and called out the bullfighter's name. They ran out into the ring to lift Romero up. But before they could do it, he ran up to Brett. "Did you enjoy the show?" he asked. They smiled at each other. The crowd picked Romero up and carried him into the street. "Let us go back," Brett said to Jake and Bill. At the hotel, she went to her room. The men went into the cafe for a drink. "I feel sorry for Cone," Bill said. "Don't worry about him. I am sure he is in Paris with his lover Frances," Jake responded. They were quiet. "Well," Bill said, "the Fiesta turned out to be amazing." "Yes," Jake agreed, "including all the awful things." "Have another drink, my friend," Bill suggested. They got upstairs and saw that the door to Brett's room was half open. Michael sat on the bed. "She left with Romero on the train," he said, and smiled. 12. The Fiesta is over. Mike, Bill, and Jake drink together in a cafe. Then they go their separate ways. Jake sees Bill off at a train station and goes to San Sebastian for a week's vacation. There he receives 2 telegrams from Brett, one from Paris and the other from Pamplona. She says that she needs help. She asks him to come to her hotel in Madrid. Jake leaves immediately. The next day, Jake arrived in Madrid. He reached the hotel where Brett was staying and knocked on her door. "Jake?" There was a quiet voice from behind the door. "Yes," he answered. "Come in." When she saw him, she nearly cried. He held her close in his arms. "I made Romero leave," she said. Her shoulders shook. "Why?" Jake asked. "He was embarrassed of me," Brett explained. "He wanted me to grow out my hair so that I looked more like a woman." "Really?" Jake asked in surprise. "Yes, and he wanted to marry me, but only after I became a real woman," she said. "He wanted to make me never leave him." She was quiet for some time. Then she continued. "You know, we were so good together, but I left him because I didn't want to hurt him. He is too young. I don't want to be that awful." Jake still held her in his arms. "I will go back to Mike," she said. "I don't want to be awful anymore." She wasn't looking at Jake, but he knew that she was crying. Later, they left the hotel and stopped for a drink at a small cafe. Jake ordered martinis, one glass after another. "Still, I feel really good now," Brett said. "Right," Jake agreed. "But you haven't had a single drink. Let us order some more wine." He asked for 2 more bottles of wine and filled her glass. He drank 1 glass too, and then another. "Jake, please." She touched him softly on the shoulder. "Don't get drunk. Everything is going to be fine, Jake." "I am not getting drunk," he said. "I am just drinking wine." For some time, both of them were quiet. "Do you want to go for a ride?" Jake finally asked. "Yes," she replied. They rode in a car through the streets of Madrid, and Jake put his arm around her. "We could be so happy together, Jake," she said quietly. "Yes," he agreed. "Isn't it pretty to imagine it?"
You will find part 1 in the description. It's hard to read books in English when there are so many unknown words. What if you could click the word and see the translation and the transcription? Then reading English books will become easy and fun. You can do it in the Ava app. You can check the meaning of the words in your native language. Check out ava.com now. Hit the like button and subscribe for more English stories like this. And now, listen to another audiobook.